Hi, how you going? It's Kate here. Just thought I would come to you this Friday afternoon for just a quick touching of base to let you know what I've been up to and share a few thoughts this Friday afternoon. So earlier today I was super excited to have our first All the Gems info session or education session, and I got to speak on a topic dear to my heart, which was looking at the neurodiversity affirming paradigm and its impact on therapy, and just got to deep dive into the different kind of approaches that there are in understanding autism and looking at how that impacts on the kinds of choices that I make as a therapist and the approaches that I use with my families, and how this movement and this new perspective opens up all kinds of possibilities. So I talked for about an hour and a half, I think, and so it was a bit of a deep dive, and had lots of slides and lots of sort of research as well around different theoretical models about understanding what autism is under this paradigm, as opposed to the medical model that most of you are probably used to, and it's certainly what I was trained in and continue to operate in some ways. So I got to talk about that and just talk about that shift and how what that means for therapy, what it means for the alignment of what I've been drawn to in terms of positive psychology and a strengths-based approach, working with families and kids and teens who may come in with challenges like anxiety and school refusal or difficulties with behaviour and that kind of thing. So just sort of really shared an overview of how being very trauma informed is very important working in this space. Thinking about that relational safety between parents as caregivers and the kinds of messages that they can send their kids, and how that's a really important area to be working in. Also talked about the understanding of the sensory world of these individuals is really, really important, and in terms of even with supporting interoception awareness, which is the sensory ability to know a lot about your internal messages that you get from your body, so hunger and thirst and needing to go to the toilet, what our body kind of feels like in terms of energy levels. So thinking about mindful body awareness and how there is lots of great research happening in this space, looking at how we can improve this interoception ability, which then leads on to maybe looking at emotional literacy and emotional regulation skills once they have a good understanding and insight and awareness about what their body is telling them, and got a language to put that into, what that means for emotions. And then maybe we can do some cognitive skill work, which is looking at thinking skills and how thoughts affect feelings and connect to behaviour and that kind of thing. So kind of, I suppose, just thinking about the layers and the foundations that need to be developed when working in this space, and when we're thinking about the neurodivergence of people's brains and sensory makeup, and how that has to be absolutely informing your input and your approach if we're going to be mindful and be very therapeutic and respectful of this space. So certainly thinking also about strengths but also the interests of clients, and that's something that I've always been drawn to anyway, but following their interests and using interests to help make connections with what their goals and their purpose for being in therapy is all about. So that's really important, and then kind of building on emotional regulation skills to meet those goals. So I went through a fair bit of that in a lot more detail, and if you want to catch that at all, you can join up anytime to be a member of all the gems, and all the once a month chats that I'm going to be doing will be stored in our group and in a platform, so you can watch that in full at any time. And then, yeah, like I said, once a month I'll be catching up and doing another topic, so deep diving into a specific kind of therapy area, now that we've sort of established that that's the way that I am thinking and the way that I'm working with families and clients and communities. So feel free to do that. And the other thing I just wanted to chat briefly to you also is just taking some time to be thinking how anxiety is going and how anxiety is presenting. So particularly in Victoria, Australia, where I am, we've got communities opening up, lockdowns not happening the same way that they have been. But, what we're seeing now, I suppose, is pockets of outbreaks of COVID and shutting down classes and smaller groups for tier 1 exposure sites and things like that. So there's anxiety that's, normal for families, for the kids who are unvaccinated, which is our under 12s at this stage, about how that might go, but also just what that might mean if that happens, and how you're going to cope with 2 weeks lockdown and things like that. So not sort of an easy thing to navigate, especially when things are just opening up. We've been locked down for so long, and just this, again, continuing sort of roller coaster. But also for those kids, just keeping in mind that these kind of transitions, it does take some time. Don't expect they're all going to be ready to be jumping back into doing lots of things. And even if you've got kids that are really keen to get back into sports or dance or other activities, play dates and things, you may see that they still get overwhelmed or get anxious in these times as well. So just being mindful of conversations. Can you have conversations about how they're tracking? Can you check in with them? Do you feel comfortable, just seeing how they're traveling, checking in with what their sleep's doing, and just being mindful as well of just pacing ourselves at the time. It can be very overwhelming. I still have to check in about what are the rules, is it masks, no masks, that kind of thing. So that's that mental load that we're kind of having to track all the time. And so just thinking, if you're having some of that, what day is it, what the rule is, where can we go, where can't we go kind of feeling, your kids might be having that experience as well. I know also for our older high school kids, we've got exams coming up pretty soon as well. So that added layer of trying to do study, but at the same time they've just opened up and can do more socializing and things. So just tapping in with how you think they're traveling, and later on, if you're interested, in December I'm going to be running as a week-long event my 7-day blueprint of understanding and parenting your anxious child. So if that's something that you've been thinking you might want to do, then keep an eye out for that when I open that up. So I'll be catching up every day with families and going through video content and tailoring some of the information about understanding anxiety and what are some approaches and what are some things can do. So just keep your eye out for that if that's something that might be relevant. Anyway, I'm going to let you go if you've been catching and watching it all, and enjoy your Friday afternoon, and I will talk with you very soon next week. Talk to you soon.